Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for tuning into our podcast. It's about payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll industry or a seasoned vet, this is the podcast for you. Hello, everyone. It's your host, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Welcome to the podcast. We begin our series today on the 5 pillars of payroll, with the first pillar, talent and education.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with this pillar, we're going to be talking about a few different things about hiring,
Yep.
training your team,
Yep.
things that we research, education, because education is the bedrock of payroll. You're always learning, things are always changing. So you're always going to have the continued education in this
Absolutely.
field.
Absolutely. So the 5 pillars of payroll are really important as it helps us guide our decision making and the rules around our department. And the first one is talent and training and education. Second one is documentation. The third is systems and processes. The fourth is data processing. And the fifth is customer service. And today we're going to concentrate on training and talent. But before we get into that, I found an interesting tidbit on TikTok, and I sent it to you. It was as we talk about different things to share on social media platforms. It's hard to think about what you would share on TikTok for payroll, but this kind of came close. It's in the world, right? So the story was how a comma or a lack of a comma in a legal document caused. Did you see? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did watch that one.
Okay. It cost the state of like Maine or something like that, or a company in Maine rather, like $5 million.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. And this is why I go hard at work, because it is that easy where one word and how you interpret things, and there's your interpretation and there's how it was meant to be. So the gist of it all was because there was not a comma in a sentence, like the comma indicating and type of thing, right? There was no comma there. So it made the sentence look like it was one sentence. And so basically, if I can summarize it quickly, these truckers were delivering, I don't know, jam, and they weren't getting paid overtime. And
Yeah.
because it was written in the state law exempted anyone who was packaging, preparing, and distributing jam, I think, is something agricultural.
Yeah.
And because they did not have the comma there for and comma or distribution,
hmm
you had to do all of it to be exempt
Yes.
the way they wrote it. But if you had just the driver piece, the distribution piece, you weren't packing. The drivers weren't packaging. And the exemption was packaging and distribution. The way it was written, it wasn't intended to be written that way, but somebody missed a comma.
Yep.
So because that they missed a comma, they were able to sue for overtime for 5 years. It cost the company like $5 million.
Yes.
And that's why I go hard at work, because things can be interpreted different ways. And I always challenge people they'll send me something and I'm like, where's the backup? Where's the compliance?
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I can attest to that. You will do that.
Point me to the legislation that backs this up.
Yeah.
And it's not to be mean. I need to cover my department, because if
Yes.
my boss asks me, why did you do that? I'm going to say, hey, this person shared the legislation. We were in fact doing it wrong, and we're gonna change it. Like, simple as that. And then your boss is happy. They're like, oh, great, no problem, good stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that was a funny story, and he did share it on TikTok. He made something boring go real quick, and it seemed like forever that I had to listen to this story. But I think the limit is only 6 minutes now.
Yeah, it is.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting story, and
right?
What? Yeah, and it's like that. If you learn from those stories and stuff like that, like we all have stories in this industry, right?
Yep.
There's stories that you could tell, I could tell,
Mhm.
that our peers and former bosses and supervisors told us throughout their careers that we could always lean on to help us throughout our careers, and that we look back to and hold fast to
because they
Hmm.
helped us. Yeah, that was a $5 million costly mistake, man.
For real. Yeah, man, let's get into it unless you got something you want to chat about.
No, we can go right into it. I do want to, before we begin, just let you guys know we do have these ordered. And Brian wasn't planning for me, didn't know about this, but I wanted to say that this is something that he developed. So I want to make sure he gets his flowers for that.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I just want to shout him out for that because he is a hell of a payroll professional, and so I
Oh,
definitely
thank you,
want to make
sir.
sure he got his
Likewise.
flowers for
Likewise.
setting this up and passing it to someone like me. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, man. Look, I think that all good payroll professionals know this stuff. I just took the time to package it up. If you guys have some thoughts on it, share. This is about having a conversation and
Mhm.
figuring out what helps us best as payroll professionals. And I
Absolutely.
think that, right, as a man, if you're a seasoned manager, if you're a new manager in payroll, whatever it is, there's something in here, a little gem somewhere in here that's going to help
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
And how do you start building a team or getting your department in order? That first pillar is your people, right? You
Yes.
either gonna
Yep.
hire great people or you're going to train your current team up and get them better. And like Walt said earlier, being in payroll is always about continuing education. You have
Yes.
to want to stay up on, you have to like doing research and staying up on the latest and greatest of what's going
Yep.
on and all your localities and states and whatever you're in,
Yes.
federal laws and all this stuff. So in any
Yep.
event, as we talk about training and talent,
Mhm.
I went out there and looked at some lists, like qualities to look for in hiring a payroll person. And
Yeah.
it was interesting to see the different lists. And there were so many. And it's good stuff. There's some content out there. It was helpful. Of
Mm.
course, recruiting companies are going to throw the list together for you and bring you to
Yeah.
their sites and whatnot. What they didn't do though, and what I'm going to do for you guys tonight is put it into like categories, right? Because I think, in my opinion, I think that there are a different set of skills and or talents or characteristics that you want to look for at
Mhm.
entry level. There's a
Mhm.
different set at intermediate, and there's a different set at leadership. All kind of adding on
Mhm.
how they want to sell us different packages. But if you buy package B, it includes A and B.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing, right? If you're gonna hire somebody intermediate, you need the entry level and the intermediate. If you go to
Mhm.
leadership, you need all three categories to be
Yeah.
full. And you jump in, Walt, anytime if you think there's something I
Yeah.
missed or whatever. So like
Okay.
for entry level, I think that you got to be organized.
Yes.
You got to have some urgency in your work, reliability,
Mhm.
adaptability,
Mhm.
people skills, and customer service. Same. And that one I want to circle back to or all of them for that matter, but attention to detail.
Underline that one if you're writing notes. Underline
It is.
attention to
Oh,
details, please.
I actually did it on my notebook.
Of course you did. Of course.
My bad. He was talking to y'all, folks.
Yes. So
So,
do you guys.
and then the last one, and probably the most important in payroll is honesty.
Yes.
And do you agree? Is that I kind of
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like for an entry level person, that you'll need all those things that Brian listed out for you,
Or at
right?
least 80%. At least
At least
80% of
80%.
these, right? Because
Yeah, something you said, like some of those can be learned.
yes,
Some of
that's
those can be honed. Like
thank
one of the things that Brian said to me, you should hire for personality and because you can teach skills,
hmm
right? So if you get somebody that is willing and open and teachable, that's one thing I learned throughout my career is to always remain, no matter what level or stage of this profession that I
Yep.
was at, to always remain teachable because you're never gonna know everything. You're never gonna know every compliance, everything like that. That's why you got to have a team
Yeah.
uh, built to help you along the way because you're going to have people that are strong in some areas and not so strong in other areas. Like we all have those points that we're strong at, but this is to help you become more balanced. So yes, at the entry level, you need all those things, attention to detail.
And that's exactly what I wanted to circle back to, the teachable part of it, because some of these things are innate and should be by nature, but some you
Mhm.
can't. I don't think I was always a people person, and some folks may still argue that, but I think I have a high standard for folks, but I can do the people piece, and I have
Yeah.
been I've gotten better at it over the years. I was very bad at it coming out because I was one of those payroll persons. Like once I learned everything, I felt so empowered and I had this righteousness about payroll, and I would find things in the
Yeah.
company and I'd be like, this is wrong. We must change it now. Compliance and penalty and rah, rah, rah. Like you got it. And that's not the way. You have to learn to frame these things better, and you have to have that
Yes.
people skill to manage up, to manage sideways, to manage down, and be able to talk to folks so you can push your agenda. And at the end of the day, they're not hearing that it's in best for them if you're coming at them, if you don't have that people skill. So all that to say, I think I've gotten a lot better, and I could stand to learn more. I would love to go through like workshops, sales workshops and customer service workshops. Man, I would love to put that time in. For at the very least, though, I stay reading, and I think I do exercise it when I'm talking to our customers, because and it's everybody that I work with are our customers.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, then if I can jump in here real quick.
of course.
I know that I had a hard time myself dealing with people, and a former manager of mine suggested that I do the audiobook Crucial Conversations.
Yes, great book, guys. Get it.
And yes, it helped me out on so many different levels, not just a professional level, but even
Personal
in
relationships.
my personal life. It helped me understand. And there was one part where they had examples of what those crucial conversations could be like at work. Because those crucial conversations are a part of corporate America, not just payroll, but they're a part of corporate America and business. You're going to have some frank, uncomfortable conversations sometimes, whether you're a manager who has to reprimand or coach one of your employees, whether you're someone who is that employee and you're getting reprimanded by your management. So one thing they said is that, and this ties into what Brian just said, you have to learn how to come to people and not go at people.
Yes.
You have to be willing to come to someone and say, hey, we need to have this conversation. It's uncomfortable. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to, rattle you or anything, but we need to have this discussion because this is for your betterment and for our betterment as a team. And I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't hold you accountable or hold you, basically hold you accountable for these things. So we got to understand that this is a part of life, and one of the many traits and payroll is that you have to not take things personal. You can't take things personal. Like what I mean by that is that if you do make a mistake, or if you do feel like that something should be different at your job. Yes. You know what I'm saying? If you're like Brian was saying, if you doing the rah, hey, we need to change this and do that and do this and whatever, and nobody's like listening to you at that moment, don't take it personal. It's okay. I'm not saying that your emotions aren't valid or anything like that, but you need to know how to operate as a professional. And this will just help you along your career, no matter what level you're at. Even if you're in a leadership position, you can still fall prey to those emotional times and find yourself being upset and frustrated. You need to have those outlets and stuff at your disposal, so you know how to operate in these situations, because trust me, they are going to happen.
Absolutely. That was great. And now, so that was the entry level.
Welcome to The Human Role, your go-to podcast where HR and payroll collide with innovation. I'm your host, Tiana Neal, and every month I'm diving deep with industry experts and change makers, bringing you real talk insights, practical tips, and fresh takes you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're a leader, practitioner, or just curious about the latest HR and payroll trends, I've got you covered. Ready to roll with the best? Tune in for fresh perspectives, actionable tips, and the knowledge you need to roll forward with confidence. Subscribe now and let's transform the way you work.
Characteristics. Now, for intermediate, you want all those things we just talked about, but at this point, you want to start looking for the excellent soft skills, right? Those people skills, and you want to also look for a business acumen, because as you grow as a payroll person, we need to understand the business we're in. And how it all works back and forth with payroll. And payroll is one of the biggest expenses in a business. So a lot of smart, folks in the business pay a lot of attention to the payroll part of it. So you want to be a part of that conversation. So you have to have that business acumen. You really need to know how your business works, how the
Yep.
employees get paid, what are the little ins and outs, how,
Yep.
what is happening at the field level. I had a boss that really pushed for us to spend time at the store level, because being in payroll, you're always in headquarters, and sometimes you're disconnected from the folks that you serve. And a lot of times you start not understanding what they go through. So I encourage you, if you're a payroll person and you have that, like, you're disconnected from the people you serve, ask if you can spend time in the field.
Yep.
And spend a day in the store, spend the time at the school, whatever, on the construction site or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Try to spend safely spend time in the field.
Where your heart at.
Yeah, where your heart at in your construction. And so you can see what your customers are going through.
Yes.
And understand why they have these payroll, and it could translate into some things that you see on the payroll side that you're not understanding, and you have a different empathy for them. And the other one was, and basically leadership qualities, because if if you want to hire a senior person or a manager, you want to see that they have some leadership qualities, even if they haven't led people in before. You can ask them right questions.
Absolutely.
We'll have to go through that again. Let me make a note. Once upon a time, I developed a few questions. I don't think the questions matter, but it's when you're hiring. Right now is the time. Right now is the time. I'm not making a note. We just talk about it right now. Actually, and this is when me and Walter met, when I was hiring for this department, and we were rebuilding the department little by little, and I started getting a lot of candidates, and we were bringing folks in. We had a great recruiting team. They were bringing people in, no problem. But what I noticed was I was wasting time, because I had no pre-screening of this employee. Only what the recruiters were pre-screening, but they're not payroll folks, and they don't always. So what I developed was like it was an escalating questions. If you couldn't get through the first 3, you're not going to get at the last 4. Or what? I feel like it was 5 to 10. But
it was like 10 questions.
Was it 10? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I did was I said, hey, put me on the phone with them first, and then I'll let you know if I want to bring them in. And I would ask folks these questions. If they couldn't answer the questions, then there was no reason to bring them in and waste your time. So if you're hiring someone at any level, go ahead and develop those questions, in advance, and give them 5 at least. And if they can't get to 5, then you probably don't want to see these people. You know what I mean? Unless you're hiring to train.
Yes.
And that's a big factor. I was not hiring to train anybody. I was hiring folks that needed experience, because I needed them to hit the ground running. I needed them to already just learn our way of doing payroll, right? Once you're a good payroll person, all you need to know is how you do it. So
absolutely. And to touch on a little bit more on what Brian is saying, there's been instances where during my career, I've seen people be in other fields, but they've been great at at the other profession that they were in, and they made a transition over to payroll, and they ended up being rock stars as a payroll person, because they had the tools, the groundwork. Thank you. The groundwork already instilled in them to be successful. So they had the attention to detail, they had the personal skills, they had the teachability, they had all these different things at whatever level they were at, to be able to go ahead and ascend and learn in the payroll industry. And one thing I wanted to go back on, and I wanted to ask you, maybe not a question, more so than a statement. Critical thinking, is that an intermediate or leadership skill?
That's a great question. And can it be taught? Can you teach it? Okay. Right?
In a way, yeah.
You would hope so. And at the end of the day, like I had shared recently with you, I believe that the human mind has the potential to do anything and be as smart as anybody else. I think it really depends on our drive to get there. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. If there are things preventing one person from being just as smart as another, go ahead, share it with us so we can learn something. But that's how I feel. So with that being said, critical thinking, but I think it's at least something you can develop, and you can
begin
kind
in the intermediate level, right?
yes.
So that you begin to, yes.
At the intermediate for sure.
Yeah.
You don't really, entry level. It's something, it's going to fall in there anyway, because you're looking
Yeah.
for that attention to detail, that adaptability, the organized person. And I think you can develop it from those. But
Yes.
by the time you're an intermediate, yes, you do have to do some critical thinking, and it's trying to think 1 or 2 steps in advance. For
Mhm.
yeah, it is important at any level, and I think it can be developed.
Yeah, it can definitely be developed and honed. I do believe that, and the way to do that is through education, right?
Yeah.
Education and
Mhm.
experience. You won't learn critical thinking if you don't educate yourself, first of all, and if you don't ever have the experience to develop those skills and hone those skills even more. I remember I was at a employer. I'm not gonna
Yep.
shoot any names out there or
Exactly.
anything like that. Don't want to get in trouble. But like, yeah, had an employer where I was never being taught anything. I had to teach myself stuff, and I was still limited in what I could do because and how I could answer questions because everything was password protected by management. I didn't have access to it. So whenever somebody would come to me from another department when management was out, and all I could say is basically, I don't know. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I can't help you. You have to wait for Brian to get back, or this person to get back. It
Right.
wasn't Brian. His name wasn't Brian. But
Oh,
it's
thank
Brian, for
God.
example. You know what I'm saying? You have to wait for this person to get back or whatever. So so he can help you. So it made me feel inadequate.
Yep.
It made me feel not good enough in this position. And that's another thing. If from a talent standpoint, you're going to run into those situations where you have leadership that, for a lack of a better word, better words, it's this job security on their end. It's protecting themselves instead of boosting you up. Then you may have to look at maybe finding a different an employer, or going to them and having those frank, crucial conversations with them and saying,
Yeah.
hey, we need to do better because I want to be better. I want to help you. I want to learn these things. I want to, like, it's your profession, right?
Yep.
This is your profession. This is your career. You can go as far as you want to. Like Brian was saying, with the human mind of being able to learn, you can shape your career in that certain way as well.
Yep. Agreed. The next level is the senior level of payroll. And
Mhm.
at that point, you really want a well-rounded individual that knows systems. They have the compliance piece, like they have a hold of, again, you're never going to know all of it by heart, but they'll start to have that critical thinking where you start saying key words that will red flag for compliance issues.
Yeah.
And at that point, a lot of throughout this whole level, the whole certification may come up. And for us, certification is not mandatory. The APA does a great job of helping folks stay
Yes.
informed. And when we say certifications, folks, it's the CPP, the Certified Payroll Professional, and the FPC. What's that one? Fundamental Payroll something.
Yes. Something.
Sorry, guys.
Pull it up.
Okay, cool. And you'll see when you're looking for jobs that it's preferred, because not everybody has it. You can't mandate it yet. It's not like the bar where you have to get this to be a lawyer. That's not the case. It's a nice to have, and we've both sat for it, and it is a good, nice to have. But don't make that, don't let that let you miss a good candidate because you may be holding on, oh, they have to have their CPP.
Yeah.
You know,
So those two are the fundamental payroll certification
got it.
for the FPC, and like you said, the certified payroll professional.
Thank you, sir.
CPP. Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah. So that pretty much rounds it out. When you're hiring at an entry level, you want those basic organized, urgency, reliability. And then when you get into the next level of intermediate, now you want more of the soft skills and the business acumen and leadership. And then someone in the top tier of leadership and payroll, which can mean many things. Ooh, we talk about payroll job titles, which can mean many things. You want them to have that rounded systems meaning they've touched many different systems. Ideally, that's
Yep.
somebody wanted to have. You want that compliance and legal piece, and you want them to be very serious about continuing education, because if they're running your department, whether they're certified or not, you want them to push for your team to have an opportunity to learn. So now when I'm interviewing now, I make sure that my prospective managers know that I need an education budget in the interview. I'm already asking for education money before I even get hired, because I know you can hit a wall when you can't train your team and you don't have the resources to like keep your team educated. Like you're going to struggle in payroll. You have to stay tapped in to the information, the laws and regulations. Ideally, you have your SHRM account. You don't have to have the SHRM, all that, but you need to tap into these established, well respected sources of content.
Yeah.
SHRM, APA, the states in it of themselves will keep it information pumping out to you, because they want you to do it right. It's their money, so you have to stay on top of that. And
if I can cut in here, like
yeah,
there's other there are, even if you're limited with finances, whether from a personal standpoint or a business standpoint, due to whatever circumstances, there are free courses out there that you can still take.
Yes.
You still educate yourself. You can do reading, things that will teach you and help you along your career. Excel. You know, a lot of us in payroll have to deal with these Excel formulas, pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, if, then, you know, all these different formulas and stuff that we have to create magic with, that we have to learn. There are some free Excel courses out there that you can find. YouTube, believe it or not.
Oh,
it's a great resource for stuff.
Great resource for Excel. I just taught myself the if.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Practitioner Corner podcast. It's a wonderful podcast about the journey, the paths of how practitioners, both HR and TA, kind of go from high school, college, all the way to where they are right now. Some of the things that they've learned, how they've been successful, people that thrive around them, etc. It's a fun podcast. You'll love it. You'll learn from it. Subscribe to it. Thanks.
Formula finally this year. And I honestly, I don't even know if I taught it myself, because I just made a cheat sheet that I leave by my computer that I can refer to when I need to write it. But that's one of the VLOOKUP. I'm like the VLOOKUP king. But because it's really like with Excel, just the sidebar, it becomes what you need it for. So some other folks are doing charts and this and that because that's what they need it for. But for payroll, you learn how you need the tool. And to as you spoke about learning things, it made me think about something. Invest in yourself. If your employer does not want to cover it, I pray that you find a way to invest in yourself, because guess what? You need to move on from that employer. If they're not investing in your education and your learning for payroll, man, you got to go. Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead and use that job to invest in yourself and educate yourself, so you can go ahead and start applying to the next job.
Yeah.
And it's a good segue into payroll titles.
Yeah. Before we go into payroll titles, I want to say one or two things.
Go for it.
When I first met Brian, one of the things that he told me as he was training me, because I had been the intermediate payroll professional until I began working with Brian at this one company. And one thing he told me was that as a manager, I never want to hold you back. I want to train you to take my job. Yeah. So basically, if something ever happened to Brian, if he moved on or whatever, he said that the payroll team could function without him, that they could promote from within and move forward. And that stuck with me because Brian not only trained me, he trained other people, and he had the people skills that he was putting into use then. He was putting, like, because every person has their own personality. They learn differently in different ways. So you have to go about it in different ways. But that never caused Brian to waver from the fundamental that I'm going to teach you, no matter what your learning style is, I'm going to teach you to take this job because I want you to excel. And when you excel, we excel, and then the business excels in the long run. And then one other thing, and then we can go on to segue to what you were saying with the payroll, the titles,
Yeah.
the job titles. As far as trust, right? Trusting your team and trusting you as whether you're a manager or you're a payroll professional who has to trust your peers. Someone told me a long time ago that if you can't trust your team, then they shouldn't be working for you.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be working for you.
That's true.
Because trust goes a long way, whether not from a personal standpoint, but from a professional standpoint. Can you trust your team to do the right thing?
Yep.
Can you trust your team to make the right call? Can you trust your management to make the right call?
For real. And that applies to you're flipping burgers or cutting checks. It's just a little bit more important in our business because of the sensitivity of information.
Yes.
And the access that we have as payroll people. It's just a little bit more important in our field. And I do have some noteworthy characteristics as well. I felt like we should I don't know. It was interesting that they mentioned them. They said perseverance, perfectionism, but I don't like that one. I wanted to mention it to talk about it because I understand what they mean, but you're never going to hit a perfect payroll because there's so many factors beyond your control. I get it. That's the goal. But you also have to be realistic and know that as long as you have a really small percentage of errors and they're small errors, that it's a analytical mindset, of course, and experience and education. And I think that's almost synonymous because this is still a field that you can, and I think we're both sides of the same quarter where you came up 20 plus years without the formal education. And I came up to 20 plus years with a college degree, but it didn't make a difference in we're still at the same point and know the same things. You know what I mean? So you'd be mistaken to pass up someone like you because you didn't have some degrees or you're a master's. No, you don't need all that in payroll. It's those are just filters that companies use for our jobs. Because I'll gladly take someone with 20, 30 years experience in payroll over someone who's just coming out of college and been only doing it for a few years. Definitely. And again, folks, if you want to invest in your people, send them to college, get them the degree. You know what I mean? Give them tuition reimbursement and let them get that degree because Walt is right. And I'm proud that you remember that for many reasons, but that's the way it should be. And I think just studying managers, I'm a big student of business and I love reading about other successful managers and business people and whatever. And a lot of those, what do they call it? Is it level 10 leadership or something like that? Where
let me see.
You really, you're pushing your team. You're not pulling them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or the team's not pulling you, you're pushing them. And I'm really proud of my recruiting, man. I think I have a winning record when it comes to recruiting, whether they like to believe it or not. But everybody that I've hired has gone on to be successful in what they're doing and still thriving as a payroll person or as something else. My very first hire was for a non-payroll position. I got the opportunity to hire for accounts receivable clerk or coordinator, but it was like entry level, right? And that person, I'm not going to mention her name, but she still went on to be successful. She knows I don't know if she knows she's my first hire though, but if you're hearing this, you were my first hire as the AR clerk coordinator. And she's went on to be successful. Like she was a beast oh my goodness. And I kept on, and I was really proud of everybody went on to be successful. So I'm really proud of that fact. And of course, including Walter, right? That's gracing us with his presence on this, my partner, my brother. And I appreciate you, man. I couldn't have done what we're doing now without you. A while ago, I asked Walt to join me on where we're at currently. And he really took a big loss to help me come do something great. But I think by now he's seen that it is something, we are doing something great and it's a fulfilling environment. We get to architect and lay the path down. We're the subject matter experts. Our bosses are amazing. They give amazing support. What an amazing environment it is to be, to grow, and to influence and help. And our purpose now is we want to build the department so that it could be easily handed off. Not that we want to rush out of here, but I think you have to think about it that way to build a good payroll department. You have to be able to plug and play. My first payroll boss told me, you being the only one knowing is not job security.
Yeah.
That's not job security. And I think that's what kind of fueled the rest of my attitude about it in training and teaching and learning. But it's not worth it if you're the only one that has it. You have to share it. And it's not job security. So I take that and I use that as that's the groundwork that every payroll department, especially if you're building everything new or even if you're rebuilding and you have to update everything.
Absolutely.
Think of it, okay, if I go away tomorrow, how do I pass this over to my bosses and say, hey, do this and that? Or how do I train my replacement? That's how I think of it. Because again, another great boss of mine told me that if you're good at what you do, you will never be out of work.
Absolutely.
If you're scared about being employed, it's because you're not good at what you do. And there's a chance that somebody's gonna beat you out. But if you're good at what you do, you'll never be out of work. And he's been true for that. That's carried me through bad times in my life and moments where I was like, oh man, I suck. And shout out to him for that. We're not gonna do names and brands right now. Just keep it real right now. They know who they are. Yeah, they know who they are. And I told him that, and I actually told him that. He was like, "Man, that means a lot." And it means a lot because you don't know when something you're telling someone hits a note for them. Yeah, man, that's it, man. I just wanted to share that piece.
And let me go back to what you were saying about the levels of leadership. Brian was referencing the 5 levels of leadership, and he was talking about level 5. That's something that was developed by John Maxwell.
Yes.
He's really good. He has several books.
Yes.
About leadership and management and stuff like that. And level 5 is called the pinnacle. And it just basically talks about having longevity and intentionality and basically being that leader that creates opportunities that other leaders don't. Basically, being the type of leader that creates a legacy in everything that they do.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Another John Maxwell's good. I'm reading right now. I put it down. Good to great. So I picked something else up. I have ADD when it comes to books. I love reading, but I'll put stuff down, read that, read this. Anyway, the Go Giver. John Maxwell's good to great. John Maxwell, all his stuff is good. Good to great is awesome. So far, I'm like halfway through. The Go Giver, I forget the author's name. He's a good one. Something I read recently, guys, for payroll. Leaders are readers, right? And it ties right back to that invest in yourself, whether it be books, whether it be these LinkedIn Learning, which used to be lynda.com, and lynda.com was amazing. And it's still amazing. LinkedIn Learning is, go listen to that podcast actually on how lynda.com started. That's an interesting one. And there's so many things you can do to go keep yourself going. And it's important that in payroll, there is no set path. But guys, we're going to lay it out for you. We're here to help you on that path. What is it that's going to help you become a better payroll professional, right? And if you're a payroll person trying to get into payroll, or if you're already in it,
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Rudiman. What are you doing? Working? Nah, you're listening to a podcast about work, and that barely counts. So while you're at it, check out my show, Punk Rock HR, now on the Work Defined Network. We chat with smart people about work, power, politics, and money. Are we succeeding? Are we fixing work? Probably not. Work still sucks, but tune in for some fun, a little nonsense, and a fresh take on how to fix work once and for all.
Episode in particular, because it's going to help you either hire right, or it's going to help you think about it. Wait, am I getting into payroll, or I just got this job? I'm thinking about this job. Do I have these skill sets that he mentioned in the entry level part of it? You know what I mean? Is this something that, that I think I can be good at? Because if you're not, don't do it. Believe it. You know what I mean? And be honest about it when you get into payroll. Separate the doing from the politics. If you're good at the job, stick with it. The politics will work itself out. Don't let the politics dictate, oh, I don't like payroll because my last boss the first boss I had was bad. That's not how to judge it on its merit. If you like doing I love doing the work.
Yeah.
And that was like my claim to fame, and both of us for that matter, just being good processors.
Yep.
If you could be a good processor, you're going to get the opportunities to do more.
Yep.
And that's how you grow. And we'll take you down that path, man. And this first pillar is the first and important. You got to start with the person, right? Maybe you can argue that you got to start with the process, but I think yeah, that's my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And The Go-Giver is a 3-book series by Bob Berg and John David Mann. There's 2 authors on that. It's a 3-book series.
It's really
You
good.
can find that anywhere online. It is really good. And I think that's a perfect segue. I know I interrupted back then, bro.
No, you're good. We're flowing.
Talked about the job titles, but yeah, we're gonna get right into the job titles. I think. How did you want to go about that?
I thought it was interesting that like one of the recent job titles that I saw out there was payroll transformation manager. I thought that was one of the most unique titles I've ever seen. And then it just made me think, gosh, there's so many titles in payroll. People make them up. What I want folks to focus on is not the job title, so to speak, but look at the job description. Think about, they're going to tell you where they want the person to be, whether it's entry or intermediate. I'm not big on titles as long as I'm getting my worth and I like my work. So for me, it's about worth and work. You can call me the custodian. I don't really care. Work and worth. So try not to harp too much on job titles in the beginning. If you're a title person, then it is what it is, but you're going to have a tough time in payroll with that because they misalign sometimes. Payroll coordinator, payroll clerk, payroll specialist, senior specialist, payroll entry level 1, level 2, level 3, payroll manager, payroll director. And it's even gone up to VP. You can be a vice president and be a payroll person.
Yes, absolutely.
It was more so just to keep it in mind that it's not a set science on the payroll titles. Let's say, for instance, it might be more structured. Accounting titles might be a little bit more structured, and you know what to expect if you see a certain title. That's not the case in payroll. You can see 3, 4, 5 different variations of the same job, and they call it all kind of things. So I just thought it was interesting. Did you come across any interesting ones or?
Yeah, definitely. I found one that I found noteworthy, like you were saying. One that stuck out to me was the 401k payroll contribution specialist.
That's interesting.
Like to me, that like Brian was saying, like it seems more targeted for a specific role. Again, I would have to see the job description to see exactly what they want this person to do. Is it more so this person is just a 401k person that handles?
That's what it makes me think.
Some payroll contributions, or do I process payroll and am I responsible for 401k?
It makes me think that company has a big payroll team, and this person is a specialization.
Gotcha.
That's what I think. But you're right, because then that's the whole point. Like, you have to dig in further, because you may read that at face value and be like, "Oh, I only have to do 401k," and then you dig in, and they're like, "No, we want you to do the payroll, but you have to concentrate on this. Is the rest of it, we got other people for it. We need you to And that happens, folks, because a lot of times the payroll kind of gets caught with things that they do best, and because it goes through your check, somehow you have something to do with it. You may get roped into doing it, and it's okay. You gotta embrace it because you're learning something. You're learning something, right? And embrace those skills, and maybe that's part of invest in yourself as well. Is ask to be involved in things. And I've done that, and more so recently in the last probably 5 years than ever, is like I actively asked for more work and to be a part of a certain project, or hey, put me in, coach. I want that. And you gotta speak up, right? This part of that's part of the playing the game we call life, is speaking up for yourself and asking for what you want. How do you know if you get it if you don't ask for it? What's the worst that could happen? They say, "No, that's it. Are you crazy?" No. Okay.
And even if they say no, like this, that's why it's important to also keep connections in the industry. You know what I'm saying, with people, because just because your employer might not educate you on something. You might have someone you used to work with who's in the management position now. That could be their specialty. You can ask them a question, shoot them an email, grab a meal or drink or lunch or something like that, and ask them like, hey, you don't have to go into details for confidentiality reasons, but you can say, hey, if you had this scenario, what would you do? You don't have to give out any PPI information about your employees or anything like that. You could just say, hey, what would you do in this situation? How can I learn about this? And remember to tap into those resources, or whatever, because that's another form of education.
Absolutely. That. Oh, absolutely.
And one thing that I wanted to, while you were talking about worth and work, I had a acronym come up when it came to that. And it's why you want that wow factor when it comes to choosing the job. So W, you want a job that knows your worth. O, you want a job that provides you with the opportunity to excel, to continue to grow as a professional, and to have an opportunity to not only meet your goals, but also the goals of the company, because it's a two-way relationship.
Yep.
You as the professional and your company as the business, as the employer.
Absolutely.
And the last W is work. You want to enjoy the work that you do.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the work is going to be hard. Sometimes it's going to be long hours, especially in this industry. Sometimes it's going to be those things, but at the end of the day, it's going to all be worth it. Yeah, man.
Love that. And I just want to recap for everybody. The first pillar, talent. You're going out and either you have or you're looking or need to develop entry-level skills. It's being organized, it's being reliable, it's being honest, it's attention to detail, having those customer service skills. And what Walt threw in there was awesome, is crucial conversations. Start developing your crucial conversation skills, because that's, like you said, it's going to help you in not only at work, but it's going to help you everywhere in life. And what you say? You said come to people where they are, don't go at people. Come to them where they are. And as far as crucial conversations and people skills, and then as you're either growing through or looking for intermediate or a leader, you want some bit more type skills. You want the systems. You want compliance. You want somebody who's hungry for learning. You want those excellent soft skills. You want that business acumen, and you want to develop your leadership qualities. And these are all things like, again, either you're looking for them in someone you need for payroll, or you're that payroll person. And I just laid out all the things that you need to be developing to get to the top of the ladder, to be successful, to develop in payroll. If you want payroll to be your lifelong journey, then that's the roadmap.
Yep, absolutely.
And wow. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, folks.
Until next time, right?
Yep. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and William Duncan. And until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.